Hello, everybody. I'm Danamarie McNicholl. I'm the Fox News Channel correspondent based here in Miami, covering President Trump as he woke up here in Florida. Although he's spending his time here, his agenda stretches far beyond just the U.S. borders, and he's mainly focusing on peace negotiations. That's mainly what I'm covering today. High-stakes meetings with U.S. and Iran in Geneva happen tomorrow, and a big question is, can both sides come to an agreement? So there's a lot to get to on the international front in terms of peace talks with Iran, as well as the war in Europe. So I'm going to get to all of that. First, let's start with tomorrow. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, they're going to have a very busy day. They're expecting to lead those talks with Iran. Conversations are expected to focus on mainly their nuclear program, as well as uranium enrichment and ballistic missiles. The Iranian deputy foreign minister, he said over the weekend in an interview that the regime would be open to a compromise on nuclear issues if the U.S. lifts U.S. sanctions. Now, this is at a time when the U.S. is ramping up military actions and presence in the Middle East, in that region. So the USS Gerald Ford, they are deployed. They were deployed from the Caribbean to that area to join the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already in that area operating. So this is a show of force as diplomacy unfolds in that region. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he had a very busy weekend. He spoke about the complexities of these negotiations, and I do want to read you a direct quote from his speaking in Slovakia. He said, "We're dealing with people who make a political and geopolitical decision on the basis of pure theology, and it's a complicated thing. I mean, no one's ever been able to do a successful deal with Iran, but we're going to try." So again, that big question is, can these two sides come to an agreement? And Secretary of State Marco Rubio has consistently been a voice on that. In the meantime, two U.S. officials told Reuters that, quote, the U.S. military is preparing for the possibility of sustained week-long operations against Iran if President Trump orders an attack. So people are also looking for an answer on that. Over the weekend, we saw some movement, hundreds of thousands of protesters against the Iranian government. This is from Canada, Munich, LA, Romania, all chanting for the regime change and democracy from Iran. So President Trump's call for change is not only, echoing in Washington, but it's being seen all over the world, really. Okay, so that's the latest on Iran and those talks that's going to be happening in Geneva, Switzerland tomorrow. Let's switch gears to Ukraine and the war. Ukraine is still working to come up with a deal on ending that war with Russia. So at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend, Secretary Rubio met with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, who he thanked the President Trump for all of the support, but he also emphasized the need for long-term security guarantees. I'm going to read you a direct quote from Zelensky. He says, "Ukraine keeps returning to one simple point. Peace can only be built on clear security guarantees. Where there is no clear security guarantees, war always returns." So that's the goal. So that war is over once and for all, and that's been President Trump's message for a very long time now. Another thing that broke over the weekend, just yesterday, President Trump announced a Thursday meeting of his Board of Peace. This is happening in Washington, D.C. This is where member states, they are expected to unveil a $5 billion humanitarian and reconstruction pledge towards Gaza. So that is happening on Thursday, a very busy week ahead for President Trump. In terms of what he's doing today, it looks like he's in a couple of meetings. You don't really have a lot of details on what he is working on today, but we know he is here in Florida for President's Day. Now, another thing that we are looking at over the weekend is the Munich Security Council. I mentioned that before. We heard Secretary of State Marco Rubio talk, but we also saw some heavy Democratic lawmakers, those big names. California Governor Gavin Newsom was one of them. We saw those lawmakers try and boost their international profile by denouncing really the Trump administration's foreign policies. Many made big waves. It's what's, gaining a lot of attention on social media, the sound bites, some tripping over their own words, others pushing controversial, somewhat right-wing talking agenda points, but no really surprise there. So I do want to read you a quote on what California Governor Gavin Newsom pushed. He said, Trump is the most corrupt and un-American president in history. Quote, President Donald Trump is doubling down on stupid, he says. I hope there's nothing else I can communicate today. Donald Trump is temporary. He'll be gone in 3 years. So also in attendance, I mentioned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez alongside Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, as well as the Delaware Representative Sarah McBride. She's a transgender lawmaker, and it's drawing scrutiny from some there because she appeared on a women's rights panel. So people are talking. The group used their time to beef up their foreign policy chops on the world stage, taking questions from moderators. AOC, she was asked about a question on Taiwan. Her response is going viral right now. Critics are calling her response a word salad. Wasn't really clear on her message surrounding Taiwan. So that's something to watch. Another notable moment from that Munich security conference, a Czech politician sparred back and forth with Hillary Clinton while defending President Trump's pushback on gender identity. He said, hey, I don't really think you like him, referring to President Trump. And Hillary Clinton said, no, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And then that reporter said back, there's a male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far. And then Hillary Clinton said that just doesn't justify selling out the people of Ukraine who were on the front lines. In complete contrast to those key Democratic figures at that conference, we saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He drew very strong reviews for his speech. He earned a standing ovation from those at that conference as he focused on bringing reassurance and a message of community for those European allies. So it's interesting. Some are saying that, and have speculated that this high-profile appearance could be somewhat of an early audition to lead the Democratic Party in that 2028 presidential run. We will see where it goes from here. But that is pretty much what we're covering here in Palm Beach today. Two really big topics coming out of the White House on the international front. Again, tomorrow in Geneva, Switzerland, we are having Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They are going to be very busy leading two separate talks, beating the lead team on nuclear talks with Iran, as well as trilateral talks as well between Russia and Ukraine. So a lot to look forward towards tomorrow. And I'm also going to be back on Fox News Channel on Martha McCallum's story just after the top of the 3 o'clock hour to talk more about the Munich Security Conference and those key Democratic leaders who are trying to push their way into the conversation. But you'll hear some of those sound bites for yourself, which are really, really interesting. It's a pretty interesting thing to follow. So here on Fox News, we'll make sure to bring you the absolute latest. Again, I'm Danamarie McNicholl, following the president, covering him here in Palm Beach, Florida, as he has a very busy week ahead. Thank you so much for watching. Happy scrolling.